Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Blacksite Studio Terrain.
All right, there we go. Now you should be able to hear me, no problem. Welcome everybody to a Friday night live edition of Present Arms Hobby Night. Bum bum bum. And we've already got some people in the house. Fantastic. Hello everybody. So, real quick, sorry if I kicked the camera there. I'm trying to get it scooched into my work spot. But as you can see, Skobak's in the house, Novus Templar's in the house, Elisar's in the house, Mac Gothmog is in the house. Look at all the people joining us on a Friday night. I hope you've got your favorite hobby on the table. I hope you have your favorite beverage on the table. So I got to line up some cameras here. We've had some extra family guests this week, and so I'm doing this on the fly. That's why we're doing it on a Friday night, among other reasons. So bear with me as I try and get my wide angle camera here scooched in, and I promise I'll get everything going here shortly. And I'm going to just scoot the camera in a little tighter for us and bring. So if you remember, if you joined us from our last Hobby Night Live, I worked on the MASH unit from Warlord Games, the new Korean War set, and I painted up the one and only Hawkeye Pierce, or their version of. I think it turned out pretty good. Not bad at all. So, let's talk about what we're doing tonight. I hope you have your favorite beverage tonight. It's a Friday night. We're kicking back. We're going to talk and chat, and we're going to paint up some stuff. And we're just going to have a grand time. Let me make sure I still have water in. I do? Okay. So I will move this off to the side here because we're going to work on something special. And of course, I left it sitting on the other workbench. Stand by. Just got to walk over here, grab it. Bada bing, bada boom. Done. And I'll scooch into my work spot. And here's what I've got, guys. A bag of plastic. Right, a bag of plastic. Let's open up this bag of plastic, because this is an exclusive miniature from the Phalanx Consortium. This was the Historicon. Let me find out. Wow, I'm really off center. I'm going to readjust camera so I am not that far off of my work spot. See my arrow? This is the dummy spot. Okay. So this is the Historicon miniature. It is a Vietnam figure, which I thought was very appropriate since Jim's Op Center is live right now on multiple channels. I guess there's an issue on Podbean. I will fix that later tonight. But this is the Historicon miniature that was sent to me by my buddy over from the Phalanx Consortium. And I really appreciate it. How's everyone doing? Well, I am doing okay. I got a beverage with me. Okay, so it's not alcoholic. I wanted to grab a Red Stripe, but currently at the hobby shop playing some bolt action, so no sound. That's okay. That's all right. Just putting it on the background. Hey, so you people out there, like if you're playing at the, at this Here, we'll type it up so Skoback can hear us. No worries. If I could spell it right. And tell your friends. I can't spell friends right because, you know, fat fingers tonight. Friends about us. Okay. Also, just to let you know, we are one subscriber away on our Twitch channel from becoming an affiliate on Twitch. Again, I don't know what an affiliate's going to get me, but we're one away. So, crack up open your favorite beverage, whatever that may be, and let's get ready to rumble. All right. So, this was the Historicon 2019 mini. Overall, it's a 28 millimeter mini. I'm looking for mold lines. There's a little bit here, so let me grab a blade. And I'm just going to run it here. And I'm just going to run it here. That's really more of a mold line. It's not flashing or anything like on here. So I don't think Jim will join us tonight because he's visiting family. Well-deserved break on his part. And I know, you know, they had the hurricane and it's affecting, I think, where his family's at too, if I'm not mistaken, that way. So all our thoughts and prayers to all them. Affiliates can get paid subs. Huh. All right. Thanks for the words there, Skoback. I appreciate that. So what is everybody doing tonight? We know Skoback's playing some bolt action. I'm assuming it's World War II based. What's everybody else up to this fine Friday evening, early morning for those who are in other parts of our world? I need glue. Let's see here. Let's fit him to the boss. There we go. And then his arm will fit like so. If y'all can see that. I got to get a big monitor so I can actually see what I'm doing. All right, so let's glue him to the base first. Uh-oh. This is no bueno. The glue and the cap got stuck together. Do I have another bottle of super glue sitting here somewhere? Thought I did. It's all right. Oh no, I just cut it. You're a dummy. I tried to use clippers to get a grip on the cap because I left my multi-tool in my truck because we've been working at my dad's ranch, getting it ready for horses because we're picking up a couple horses from the government. So we've been doing that. So I guess I will just have to do it the old-fashioned way. And let me switch over to widescreen here. Wide angle, bink. So you can see what disaster I'm up to. Since I can't get the lid off, the cap off the nozzle. I have extra nozzles. I bought nozzles, but I got to get the cap off. All right, so then I got to take a crappy paintbrush or something. Well, this something's going to be his arm for right now. Usually I have these guys prepared before we go live, but I figured I'd start and then go from there. Let me zap him with some miracle juice. Okay. And then I'm going to take his feet. Oh no! Damn it. I guess I should do that a little better, huh? I should just use an old paintbrush. I don't know why I'm being so stubborn and not doing that. I have a ton of old paintbrushes, so that's what I will do. It does not want to stick, so we're going to have to go a little dab will do ya. Quick set. Come on. As I glue them to my fingers. Pour a little bit more. This is a very scientific application process here. As I dump a ton of glue out. Ooh, that hurt. Had a little spar in the M16. And it just got me just right. Oh, you thieving bastard, as my father would say. For some reason, he always said that when things weren't working out right. He'd deny it now, but yeah. It's amazing as you get older, you're like, oh, no, I never did that. Okay, Dad. Whatever you say. All right. We'll let him set a minute. Let me dispose of this glue stand before I glue everything together and get rid of this paintbrush because it's now toast. Wipe up my fingers. I'll check in with comments real quick. And let's see what we got. So, LSR is painting some 40K scratch-built tanks for a charity event tomorrow. Excellent. Novus Templar. Last weekend I finished my prototype 150th scale 737-200, and this weekend I'm progressing to the full epoxy fiberglass aircraft with hollow interior. Then build the passenger area with the chairs. I made 3D print. Nice. That must be a pretty huge mini. 24 inches long. The interior is 2.7 inches across. What are you going to use that for? Are you doing a hostage situation? That sounds really cool. Really cool. All right. So let me see here. Put him in the magical stand. Perfect. Not so perfect. Okay, he's in there. All right, let me switch back to the workbench camera that you can see him. So that's him assembled. So you can see he's carrying handle, his M16. Now this would be an M16, not even an A1. This is an M16, not an A2, but the original M16, or what we fondly refer to as the Mattel gun, because these were made by Mattel, the plastic parts. So there you go. All right, let me see about priming him. And because we are doing oh my God, I'm losing my mind. We are going to be doing Vietnam. So not really camo per se, mostly olive drabs and greens. I'm going to go with a neutral. So I'm going to be using this here. You can see in the wide camera. This is the Stylize primer. And I'm going to pull out my Iwata here. Make sure it's working beautifully. Turn it on. Oops, my badger wants to fall out. I don't want that to happen. Shake up my paint. So what I do is I have these dropper bottles that I got off of Amazon, and I take the paint and I mix it with some retarder, if you will, so it flows better, or flow improver. Depends on, you know, which one brand you, whatever they call it. So okay, and we shall begin. Anybody have any projects that they're looking forward to? Any games? I'm really excited. I don't know if I said anything. I may have the last time we were all together. And for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. But Andy Zach, who does his own miniature page on Facebook, and you can find it. He does quite a bit of stuff and posts it here as well. Amazing painter, an amazing painter. He has a style all his own, really awesome, stands out. I know several miniature companies have commissioned him to paint their stuff for them. Remember to move your airbrush around. Don't go too heavy in one spot or you'll puddle up, and that's no good. Make sure you get all those angles, let it dry a little bit. But so Andy does a lot of painting, and when he was over for the last boot camp that they had over at OTT on Tabletop, which is the old Beast of War, Warren approached him about doing some video tutorials, if you will, about camo painting and uniform painting, so mostly camouflage. And Andy said we should do it together. So so I'm really looking forward to it. Interesting. So as we let this dry. So yep, Novus Templar is doing based on LSR's 2590s game that was published in OTT using Spectre Minis. Excellent. I would really like to get some pictures on that and post them up. And then LSR says, awesome. And then he says, LSR again says, just picked up some gel guns, airsoft with gel balls, so they're legal here. So going to play around with them. Interesting. It amazes me the differences in what people can have, can't have in different parts of the world. Now, obviously, here in the United States, we have a gun problem, if you will. We have people who don't know the difference between right and wrong, and want to create as much havoc as possible. And just terrible all around. And you've seen the mass shootings that we've had here in the U.S. But on top of that, you've got people from around the world saying that America has a problem. We do have a problem. I don't think anybody who lives here wouldn't agree that we don't have a problem, because we do. But the problem isn't the gun owners per se. It's the way people are able to get guns that shouldn't have guns. Is what it comes down to, and there's this big argument about the infringement of the Second Amendment, and trying to explain the Second Amendment to people from another country is not always easy, because they just don't understand. And there's people from other countries who've never had guns growing up or been around them. It's not part of their culture, so they don't understand what's the big deal and just get rid of them. Well, the first problem is, and I don't mean to make this a political speech, but I think common sense talk, is that there are millions and millions of guns in the United States, owned legally, and obviously some not so legally. But trying to get rid of everybody's gun would be an impossible task. 2, per our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments, we are guaranteed the right to bear arms. Now, there's a discussion right now about, well, the amendment says a well-regulated militia. Then it becomes a legalese, what's the definition of a militia, and yada, yada, yada. So, nobody wants these mass shootings here. It's pretty sad. I teach, as part of my law enforcement career, a training program called ALICE. ALICE training stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Escape. So basically it's, mass shooting, how to survive a mass shooting in a school or a hospital or, any place like that. So, it's pretty sad when we have to teach it. I helped teach 700 teacher's aid a couple of weeks back for one of our local school systems. So, it's tough. But, it is one of those things. So my point being is it just amazes me at, the regulations that some people come up with. Australia being one of them, because to me, Australia is our closest cousin, if you will, from, the old British Empire, where we felt a lot of our beliefs, at least maybe years ago, maybe not today's, but, we're similar. They believe in freedom, and not that other people don't. I don't want people from the UK or Ireland or Germany or, but it just seemed like we were kind of on the same plane, if you will. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I've always wanted to live in Australia. I spent a couple weeks there with the U.S. Army doing some training, but Australia's just been that one place I've always wanted to live. I actually looked into it just recently because, I'm also a nurse, and there are a lot of nursing opportunities in Australia, so it's just one of those things. It just amazes me that, because of a couple incidences that, they really buckled down on gun ownership. And, like Elisar says here, our firearm laws are utterly bizarre. You can own a real firearm without a license, but can't own a paintball gun without a license. Yeah. So he says, if I drive over the QLD, the New South Wales border, with them, their firearms, and I can go to jail for the rest of my life. Yeah, see, that just doesn't make sense. So it's just one of those things. But, I think one of the things is people, think we're all a bunch of gun-raving lunatics here in the United States. I do not go to breakfast with my gun. I barely ever carry my guns, and I'm legally allowed to carry my gun as a police officer. Most people who are gun owners here in the United States, we're just normal people who go around our jobs. We like to shoot a gun. And it's not like we go out and kill stuff. We like to shoot targets. It's no different than a sport, whether it's cricket, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever. It's just one of those things. It's an activity that we like to do. So anyways, let's get back to the fun stuff. So, all right. So he's just about dry. So let's get our palette ready while we wait for that. I'm going to go back to the wide angles here on the bench. And look at that. It's been, 2 weeks since I used the palette. It's still wet. The paints are still wet. Except, I don't know if you can make it out here. There's a little bit of, shall we say, mold growing on the paper. That's why it's important. See, I have to put some bleach in the water. Couple dabs, drops. Not a lot, just a couple drops on your, into the water that you put into your sponge will prevent that. So, let me grab some more paper. Palette paper from our friend Radagast. Do most of you guys use wet palettes? Or are you just, using a slate, brick, whatever? I know some people like to do, wet palettes. Some people really don't care. They'll just use whatever. Because they're like, well, I'm not going to use paint. So, I don't know. I like wet palette. It's one of those things I learned when I became really big back into doing minis and modeling and stuff. So, alright. Let's see if he's dry. Nope, still a little tacky. I'm going to wait a little bit. So, we'll go back to the comments while we wait. Elsar says, wow, that's an effective palette. You know what? It's just the container from P3 wet palette from Privateer Press. It's a household sponge that I keep moist. Hey, Big Jim Ariskity is in the house. Everybody get your shot glasses out. Jim is in the house. It could be drinking game night here on the Present Arms. So, also, just as a quick update, we are going to be renaming our pledging levels to make them a little bit more cooler. And, so like our top level Patreon supporter will be Tier 1 Operator. Our second level there will be an Elite Operator. And then we'll have like, highly trained operator, something like that. So Jim is on the highway. Jim, are you on your way to your dad's? If you are, be careful. I don't know if this storm, obviously, I hope has passed y'all by up north. I talked to some friends over at Fort Bragg, and they were getting pounded. And my niece is at Norfolk, and she took pictures of the beach there at Norfolk on Virginia Beach. So, yeah. So, obviously, Jim cannot be playing the Ariskany drinking game because he is driving, because we don't condone drinking and driving, because you'll spill. No, seriously, don't do that. Also, wanted to give a plug to our good friend Annie over at Cozy Dice for making our official, let me move this out of the way, dice bags. Pick up your official dice bags from Cozy Dice. Stitch with Sit Rep Podcast. She does make them to order. They're relatively inexpensive and really nicely lined. There's the mini bag and then the full-size dice bag. So definitely pick those up. Also, Zazzle.com. I know it's commercial time, right? You can pick up your official Sit Rep wear. So definitely get in on that. All right. I've done enough spewing of selling products. Let's paint, shall we? All right. So, Jim, I don't know if you saw, because, you're just joining us, but what I have here, and I'll jump over, is, and I doubt you're watching this, you're probably just listening, what I'm holding in my hand, and I have it under the close cam, and I'll try and be as descriptive as possible for you, is I have the Historicon exclusive miniature sent to us by our buddies over at the Phalanx Consortium. So it's a Vietnam figure. He's handle carrying his M16, the original model. He's got a Alice pack on, or the Vietnam version of the Alice pack. He's obviously got jungle boots on. If everybody's never seen jungle boots, those are the black leather and I don't know if they're necessarily canvas, but you know, just one of those things. I loved my jungle boots. Loved them, loved them, loved them. I was allowed to wear them up to the time they phased out black leather, and they went to all to the desert tan. Um, they looked really good. And he's wearing old, you know, jungle fatigues. OG, you know, these could be OG 107s, which was the code um, issue code for them, or their specific code. I'm not supply. Jim could talk to that better than I could, but and he's got his old K-pot, not a K-pot, steel pot. He's got bandoliers on him, so nicely detailed. So what I think I'm going to do, since I have my airbrush on, is I'm going to give him a quick highlight of some OD green. So the Maverick Khaki is going to stand in for it. Novus Templar has a pair of jungle boots. Awesome. Jim has the mini. So here is the paint we're using. I'm going to use some Team Yankee. I know. Team Yankee, Team Yankee, Team Yankee. Let me get my airbrush Wicked Reducer. That's what we're using. So I should use, you know, people say to use, here I can put it in the wide camera for you guys. Wicked Colors, you know, this is think Hobby Lobby stuff. They say to use the same brand as your paint, but it's alright. We'll be fine. And I think since I already have the my Iwata hooked up, we'll use that instead of my Badger. So I'm going to put in a couple drops of reducer to thin it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And shake this up real good. One, 2, 3, 4. A little, maybe 4.5. Let's see how it looks. I'll take another cruddy paintbrush and mix it well. You want it to be the consistency of skim milk. I'm actually going to put another drop of reducer in there to flow a little bit better. So some people call it reducer, some call it flow improver, drying retardant. You know, different names. Thinner. So that's better. All right, so now I'm going to back flush this. So I put my thumb over it. If you can see here in the wide angle, I'm going to put my thumb over it, start the air, and pull the gate back just a little bit until I mix the paint. Okay. And then I'm going to take my paper towel here, check my spray and my flow until I get it going. There we go. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and paint him. Let me switch screens. And I'm just going to come over the top of him like this. And just lightly start highlighting. I'm not really looking to shade them. I'm just trying to get a nice smooth coverage. You know, some people will do the shading. You know, John's real good at that on OTT on some of their projects. You know, they'll come in and do pre-shading or that kind of thing. I'm just looking to get a nice smooth base. here. Oops, sorry guys. I don't know how well you can see it. See, it's definitely coming in. And I'm going to back off a little bit so I get a wider spray pattern. So, thing about Vietnam fatigues, they did not last quickly. They did not last for a long period of time. The humidity, the dampness, the heat, they broke down. They were made out of cotton. And they broke down rather quickly. So, all right, so I think we're going to start with that. Let me clean my hairbrush real quick, and then I'll jump back on comments. Okay, get my airbrush cleaner here. Best investment I bought from Amazon recently. Let me switch back here to wide angle. There we go. Okay. I can go ahead and turn off the airbrush pump. Put my cleaner over here. All right, so right now he kind of has the look of a kind of like a plastic army man. That color, not the real deep. You know how sometimes you get one, it's like an offish greenish yellow, you know, from the plastic. That's kind of where we're at right now. But we're going to definitely take that up a notch or two. Let's see what we got going on. Jim hasn't painted his yet. Interesting. Is that why you see a lot of pictures with sleeves ripped off? Not so much a style, but a broken uniform thing. Very possible, you know, because they do rip and fall apart, you know. And sometimes people were just being rebels and they didn't want to be part of, you know, the uniform thing. So, let me put that away. Take a drink. I'm going to get out my military shader from Army Painter right here. And we are going to shade him up. I know, I haven't even really started painting yet. I'm already going to do a shading on him. But that's what I want, because this is going to darken up that uniform. It's going to put some nice aging to it. And we'll go from there. All right, I need to put away some brushes here so I don't ruin my good brushes. Yes, I just licked my brush. I fully admit I'm a brush licker. I think I admit that every time we do a show. That's all right. Oh no, tank down, tank down. Okay, so I'm going to use my synthetics, and I'll use a number 2. And we are going to totally wash him. Okay. Obviously avoiding skin as much as possible. And I'll go back to close cam for you guys. There we go. Where are you? Thank you. All right, let me adjust lighting here so I can get some better lighting for you guys here. All right, so gonna go and wash everything. So I had a really interesting childhood in some aspects. My dad was in the Army. He joined in 74, I believe it was, 1974. And he went to flight school for the Army and flew Hueys to begin with. So as a kid, I grew up on an Army base. And oh, that's skin. All right, it's all right. We'll take care of that. What the cool thing was is that he brought home all kinds of Army surplus stuff. You know, stuff that he was issued, stuff that somehow he was able to get his hands on. I don't know how or why. But We used to play Army all the time. My brother, my sister, and myself, we played Army all the time with real stuff. So I know a lot of this Vietnam stuff because a lot of it obviously was Vietnam issue then. So it brings back some memories. They even have the cigarette pack and his either bug juice or more likely his gun oil bottle, lubricant, in his helmet band. It's looking good already. Bringing out some nice detail. All right, so we'll let that sit up. Clean my brush. Oops, sorry guys. I don't know if you can see that very well. Here, let me see if I can highlight it for you. Will it highlight? No, it really doesn't, does it? All right, let me do a quick camera change here. And let's see if I can get us a better angle under light conditions here. Oh, that's looking better. See if I can go in a little bit for you. How's that? Is that better? We'll work on that. Okay. All right. So we'll let him dry. Go back to chat. Interesting. Yep. Discipline in the U.S. forces in Vietnam was often not great. It counts for some of the ununiform uniforms. This is very true because you remember a lot of the people in Vietnam were draftees. They were drafted, and a lot of them didn't believe in the reason why we were there, especially later on in years. And I'm thinking that at some point, if Jim hasn't already done it and I missed it, we might address that in morale of troops. Would that be a consideration, Jim? So the other thing is, are we blurry? Am I out of focus there, guys? Let's get that back in focus, shall we? Just bear with me as I focus. Okay. All right, better. Discipline. Yep. See, look at that. Jim's talking about in part 4. Guys, if you have not checked out the most recent episode of Ops Center, you really need to do that. Jim is talking all about gaming and what's going on right now, and you know how to bring it to life on your tabletop. So make sure you check it out. Make sure you guys are checking out our sponsor, Black Site Studios. I've got a lot of great stuff. I am definitely looking forward to doing some serious gaming here soon. And I have been working on a couple projects in the background. I think I'm going to do a video. I'm probably going to live stream it because then we could talk about building a game table. It's probably going to be, I know I've talked about the idea before, but doing a Central America game table for like Spectre or those kind of games. You know, a drug lord compound, if you will. And yeah, I'm seriously giving it some serious thought. And I've been looking at how to do it, and I'm going to combine miniature gaming and hobby railroad terrain building. And so I think we'll do that as a series of some Present Arms hobbying. Elsar, I saw this morning Chain of Command is going to have a Falklands expansion later this year, so better go rewatch the series. That's right. Brush up on your Falklands. Jim did an excellent series on the Falklands. As a reminder, tomorrow we are podcasting. Because of the storm last weekend, I was very concerned. I didn't want, Jim to feel the pressure of having to work through that with everything going on. So we are going to do a live a live podcast tomorrow. And I believe we have Piers joining us from Iron Fist Publishing to talk about Battle Group Northag. So I'm excited. Some Cold War coming from the battle group. I'm really, really looking forward to that. All right. So let me put the tablet down here. That's how I monitor comments. And I'm going to pick up our guy again. And he's still wet from that. So the question is, what am I going to paint next? I'm going to move away from Team Yankee colors and go with some good old fashioned. Well, I know I'm already going to paint black on his jungle boots because the heel and the toe are leather, and so are the eyelets, where the eyelets are the lace-ups. Everything else is pretty much green in some format. We'll put some color in because the bottle here, let me see if I can point it to you guys. Right here is his gun lubricant bottle. Sometimes this was a bug juice, but a lot of times this is where they kept their gun oil. So this bottle here, the main body of it is a lighter olive drab, and the cap was either a dark olive drab, dark green, or black with black stenciling on it. Over here, I'll get him in frame here. That's a cigarette pack. Typically, Marlboros is what came in sea rations. It was usually Marlboros or like Lucky Strikes or something like that. So if the VC and NVA weren't going to kill you, you were going to get zapped by cigarette smoking, right? When you're in war and you're in combat, that's the least of your worries, you know. So I know some of my friends unfortunately picked up this habit of smoking while they were in the military. My two best friends from high school, one retired last year as a master sergeant. He was actually a first sergeant. And then my other best friend is going to be retiring this December, I believe. He's getting medical because he has some lung issues. Not from smoking because he doesn't smoke. He has a half paralyzed diaphragm. Don't know how that happens, but he's retiring as a sergeant major. He's in civil affairs. And my other friend was military police and combat engineer for the most part. So, because they, reserves, you go where you have an opportunity to get promoted. So Marty picked up the smoking habit, and unfortunately, my sons picked up the smoking habit. I'm hoping they quit because it's just not good, obviously. So. But needless to say, that's that. So, all right, let me quit rambling here. Let me pick up some green that I want. And I think I'm going to go to an Army Painter green. I love my Vallejos. They have some really good ones. Oh boy, do I want to go with a reflective green? No, it's too green. For what I might use that later, but for right now, no. So let me grab no. I really need to put my colors in order by color. Truly. I'm going to go with an elf green, believe it or not. We're going to use, I'll get it under the camera here, Elf Green by Army Painter. And let me check in. CLP, that's right. Let's see, Novus Templar. I have my eye on the Black Site Studios large ship model for some missions with Spectre. I'm telling you what, that is an impressive model. Saw it at Adepticon. Let's see, CLP. CLP is the name of the break-free or breakdown gun oil that we use to help clean our weapons. It's called CLP. All right, let's put that over there. Let's see. Hello, Jim. My espresso shots are ready and waiting at the edge of the table. 11 miles to go. Well, this is Vietnam, so I hope if they are smoke, it's at least tobacco. You never know. You never know. All right. Thin your paints, as Duncan would say. Thin your paints. All right, clean my brush. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start with this helmet. And I'm doing very thin layers. And I'm trying to not cover all the wash. Can you see that all right, guys? What I'm trying to do is get the areas that were kind of like highlighted to kind of even it out. I don't want to take away tone. I don't want to take away shading. Because really, right now, it looks really good just as it is. I'm just trying to tone down some of the yellow that's in there. That's all. This one's going to take some patience because I'm doing it this way. I'm almost doing a reverse painting, if you will. You know, I did a base, I did a second base, very fine base, and then I washed them. And now I'm going back to do the primary colors. So almost in reverse. And I tell you what, it is looking good already, if I say so myself. See right here, I don't know if you can pick it up in the camera, there's a really bright yellow spot. We got to tone that down. So I'm going to take this paint that's thinned down and tone it down. But not cover it, but just tone it down. So I got some more here and then a little bit more here. So we're just going to go in there, put that in there, and cover that, and right there, like that. And then a little bit on this rucksack, like that. Oh yeah. That is looking really good, if I say so myself. What do you think? Can y'all see that? Obviously, I'll throw up pictures when we're done, but a little bit more here. Again, I am not painting to cover. I'm painting to shade and highlight. I don't know if it's really standing out on his rucksack here. Wash my brush. Because now I'm going to make it stand out even more when I go in and I'm going to edge these pockets, do some edging on some of the folds of his clothes, and then his bandolier is going to get a different green along with the straps, his pouches, the straps on his... I actually might leave the straps just the color they are. They're really highlighted, and just come in to the rucksack and use a different green. I might actually use the reflective green for the rucksack, because the rucksacks usually tended to be a little lighter in color than your uniform. Let's see. Novus, Gee, do you ever use a cheap hair dryer to speed the dry time between paints? I know it would be a pain while on air, but I know I use one to get the next color quicker. I have not. I thought about it. I know there's people out there that don't because they feel that it will push some paint and you might get smear marks. Um, if you know, I they dry pretty quickly in this room up here in our hobby room. So I'm not truly worried about it, but I do know people who do. But right now I'm under one, two, three, four different lights, and yeah, they dry pretty quickly. So, but I know people do, especially like guys who do a lot of like Napoleonic stuff during the big armies. They're trying to get through painting, a whole company or whatever their level they're painting at. So. Let's see. Jim, giving Dad those 40 millimeter knuckle duster Old West minis. Those knuckle duster minis are incredible. Um, and they're featured in this month's, is it Miniature Wargaming Monthly? Um, one of the Wargaming magazines. So, Forrest is a good guy. I love his minis. I've got some of his older ones. I need to hook up with him, get some more stuff. Novus Templar, cool. I've looked at those minis to add to my Dead Hands game. Good game. And, oh my god, I can't think of it off the top of my head. He's going to kill me. But yeah, if you like old Western stuff, definitely something to take a look at. All right. He's looking really good. All right, so we are going to use some reflective green. I'm going to go be real gentle on this as well, just to see how we're doing on that. Let me get him. I don't know if you guys can see the highlighting that's going on here. So let me, that's really green. I might have to mix a little bit of the other one in there to tone it down just a shade. Let me get some water. Thin it out. Clean my brush. And I'm going to draw in some of our elf green to the reflective green to tone it down just a hair. All right, it's going to take a little bit more than that, but all right, we'll see how that looks. That's pretty bright. I'm going to go to a smaller brush. I'm going to go to my Uno. Okay. And again, thin layers. The only problem with doing these kind of miniature painting on camera is it all blends together. Sometimes depending on the camera quality, and unfortunately we're not using one of our best cameras up here right now. Those are all locked in the studio downstairs, but oh, that looks good. Sometimes I surprise myself. I know, total modesty. It's a very subtle difference, but it is a difference. And as long as you keep it thin, oh yeah. All right, let's get his canteen cover. We'll go with the same color. Now, there are some people that paint high contrast, high contrast, so it really stands out on the table, and I'm totally cool with that. Andy does an excellent job at doing that. I'm I come from the school of it would really bother me. And it's not because it's wrong, it's just that after being in the military for so many years, it's like you've got to do this way, right? So my stuff tends to be more closer to, I don't want to say realistic, but more towards the aspect of not standing out, if you will. Reason being, you know, you don't stand out in war. You got to blend. But in gaming, you want it to stand out, right? You really do. That's probably going to get another layer of color. Ooh, I don't like that at all. That's too bright. Let's tone that out. Tone that out. That is so bright. That reflective green is reflective. It's okay. We'll tone it out. Yeah. Gonna have to go with a different olive drab on that one to bring the straps out. I gotta go with the darker one to contrast it. All right, let's see. Sorry guys, I'm moving him off camera. Gotta go, arriving at Dad's. Well, have a good trip, Jim. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon. All right. So I am going to go with a darker green. Oh, you know what? I used uniform green, didn't I? I didn't use reflective green. Yeah, I sure did. That's all right. It's actually all right. I'm going to use some Soviet green for the straps because it'll stand out. So I'm using, where's the camera at? Team Yankee Soviet green. Get some water. Thin this out. If there's one thing I've learned is thinning your paints. I used to be one, oh, I got to cover it, you know, and now it's thin it out. Do it in layers if you have to. Because mine used to just look like goopy messes. I think that's the progress everybody goes through at some point in their painting careers, if you will. Just lightly touching up on the straps here, just to help them stand out a little bit more. I'm just gonna touch those up just a little bit. Just like that. And I'm actually going to just do a smear at the bottom of his pack. And what that does is simulate dirt and wear. And just draw it up. I mean, it's so subtle. You have to look at it close up. But all right, so now what I got to do is his helmet band, the band that keeps his cover in place. So for that, I'm going to have to go to a smaller brush. Now I know people that'll say, "Oh, I can do everything with a 1 or 2 brush." Well, okay, congratulations. You're amazing. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from you, but I like using tools. If you have tools, use the tools you're given, right? So I'm going to go to a 0 brush. Make sure my point looks good. It does. Make sure it's soft. Then I'm going to take a tip of paint and make sure you guys can see. Get my head out of the light bulb. And paint that up. It is some subtle. Well, I'll make that stand out more though. Just take your time. Build it up if you have to, right? Just take your time. And if you don't like it, rub it away. It's a nice thing about thinning it out. It's still pretty wet. You can rub it out. And if it's a close match, it helps blend in anyways. Just gonna help highlight these a little bit more. I really like that. It's looking good. Looking all right. All right, let's do a quick catch up here, guys. I'm sorry, I don't mean to ignore you all. LSR is off. Have a good weekend. Have fun at your game. Have a good one later. So what is everyone's favorite supplier of Vietnam 28 millimeters? I'm looking at some standard troops and some special forces. Tell you what, Empress does a really good line of Vietnam troops, and Gringo 40 has been really producing some good ones. And I can say that, who else? Oh, Footsore Miniatures. Tim is working on some ones as well. So, yeah, he's doing a really good job on some of his as well. So, I know he was working on some, I don't know if they were SEALs or Recon or something from back then, but I know he's looking at some good stuff. Let's see what else we got going on. Hopefully Skoback's in the thick of it and winning in his bolt action game. All right. Let us proceed with our guy here. I think I'm really gonna work on bringing those straps out some more at some point, but right now I think I'm gonna go ahead and do some skin tone on him. And for that, I'll go with Harvester Flesh, Resurrection Flesh. You know what? Let's go with this one. So for this, I'm using, if I can get it under the camera, Fantasy and Games, Harvester Flesh. This is from Scale 75. So I have a wide variety of paints from different companies. I like to try different ones. Okay. Right now I have my paints divided by company, manufacturer. And somebody says, you know, you really should just put them by color. That way you're not searching all over the place. They're smart. It was dawn. All right. So looking at skin here. And this is going to take a while. Just because. And where's it? Oh, I see it. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? Yeah. So this weekend it'll be a abbreviated weekend. Like I said, we're doing a live show tomorrow is the plan. All goes well. And you guys are free to join us. It'll be at 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, which is what in England? 5 p.m.? 4 or 5 p.m. from Eastern Time? 4 p.m. 4 p.m. And like I said, we're supposed to have Piers on from Iron Fist Publishing to talk about Battle Group North Egg, so the Cold War version. And if you've seen Plastic Soldier Company's been producing 15 millimeter minis, I think it is. Is it 15? I think it's 15. We'd like to see it in 10. So we'll have to see. Oh, how did I miss that? Oh, I just broke his arm. Are you kidding me? Ugh. How did I do that? I was doing so well. Doing so well. Poop. All right. What did I do with the extra nibs? Hold on, guys. I'm going to do an emergency nib out. Emergency nib out. Oh, look, I found another bottle of glue. Never mind. Crisis averted. Crisis averted. Okay, we are back. Put him back up in here. And finish my flesh. I like using a neutral tone for base instead of black or white. Black gets really dark. Obviously, you know, your paints on top tend to be darker, and then if you do white, they tend to be lighter, brighter, if you will. So I like the neutral tannish color, if you will. What is that? Okay. Again, thin your paints. Thin your paints. Work on this other arm again. Andy has a really great knack for bringing out facial features and expressions. I could learn many, many good things from that man. I'm really hoping we get to do the videos over in Ireland and just to sit down with him and watch him work. I think would be amazing. I really, really do. All right. Let's let that dry. There you go. So we've got the skin tone on. And then I have Flesh Wash sitting here from Army Painter. We'll use that to go from there. Let me check in with our comments, guys. Not much going on right now. Still chatting away with, so we're going to be done here shortly. I try to keep this stream to about an hour, hour and a half. So we got about 10 more minutes here, roughly. And then we'll let people go on with their adventures for a Friday evening or Saturday morning, depending where you're at. Army Painter Flesh Wash, gentle shake, don't want bubbles. Just do a little dab will do ya. I'm gonna probably get copyright infringement because I know that's from a commercial. And just gently brush it on. And brush it on. So Jim doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to come up with some flashy graphics and music for the Oriskany drinking game every time he says long story short. So every time we hear it, we'll press a button and bada bing, bada boom. That's taken to the wash really nice, actually. It really is. I don't want to mess with it too much. You know, the old saying, don't mess with it once you have it. You know, people tend to be one of those that, oh, I can just do a little bit more. And I'll have it perfect, right? And then you're always working it. And then you get to the point where you can't fix it and you've gone too far. So like here, I want to just dab to bring out the highlights. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. Leave it at that and let that totally dry. This is looking really great. Really, really great. So I definitely have to come up with a higher contrast for the straps, the bandolier, because even that colors blend in, and I need it to make it stand out. So I'm going to go with a different color there, and obviously the M16 will paint in black. What do I think of the miniature overall? It's a nice sculpt. I'm not sure who actually sculpted it, but it's very nice. It's pretty clean. The facial features are pretty sharp. I can see he's got like wristbands or watches on. The M16, it's a little bigger scale-wise than an actual one would be, but you know what? I had a famous game creator, miniature maker, tell me, who would that be? Everybody know who Ronnie Renton is from Mantic Games? So Ronnie and I were talking at one of the boot camps or some event. I think we were just talking at Mantic night, I think at Gen Con one night. And I was talking about how some minis, their weapons look so out of proportionate to others. And his explanation was it's very hard to cast some weapons in true scale, like hands and heads as well, because they're so fragile, and so that's why some companies go with a larger-ish scale of a weapon. Because if you look at a Spectre Mini, let's see if I can get him in here. This is one of the Mena guys that I painted up on a stream a while back. His AK is pretty much the scale, and it's really delicate, but I mean it looks good. So I mean if you're not a rivet counter per se, it looks pretty good. Here is the Ultra Modern Combat American Trooper that I painted up on a stream, and his weapon's pretty to scale, as you can see. It just depends. I think, he turned out really nice actually, his multicam. So, and I think honestly for the multicam, I think I followed Stevens from Spectre Miniatures paints tutorial they have on their site. So, yeah, there's that. I've always heard artists never finish a project, they just abandon it, else they'll keep on going and on and on. Isn't that the truth? But, does that make all miniature gamers and collectors artists? Because we all know we have a table full of stuff that just goes on and never gets painted fully. Does anybody know anybody who's actually completed every single miniature that they own? I don't know anybody that does that. I mean, I could show you the stuff that I have here that's, waiting to be painted. So, yeah, it just goes on and on and on. All right, so it looks like his skin tone's done. We've got about 5-6 minutes. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the original skin tone and just highlight a couple areas here. Just a little dab. I know a little dab will do ya. And his chin, cheekbone, a little bit of his ear, a little bit more of his jawline. Can you see it? No. See, every time I move the camera to give you guys better angles, and somehow my hands just drift. Let's make that not too heavy on paint, because we don't want to make it look like an Indian, right? Yeah, it looks good. Just do this jawline a little bit more. Nice and gentle. A bit more of the ear. And then I'm going to do the back of the elbow, and then up on top just a little bit. And then just a little bit of his hands. just to highlight. And just a little bit more here. A little bit on his fingers, top of his hand. Just gentle. Just blending it in. Just like that. That's almost Indian-ish there. Let's blend that a little bit if we can. Okay. I'm going to have to do a little pin wash in his eyes because they didn't wash real good. Not a big deal. Pull it from the nose out. Okay. Looks really good. All right, I'm liking that. I don't know if you guys how well you can see that. I need to just tone down his highlight here just a smidge, because it got too, yeah, just let that sit, it'll be fine. Okay, so that's pretty much skin tone on him. I could go lighter on the cheekbones, but you know what, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave it as it is. I take a little bit of this green and I'm going to paint his wristband. He's got one on both sides. Those could be watches and such. Just like that. Yeah, I think it's turning out really nice. Hopefully you guys can really get to see how well that's coming together. So I still obviously got to do his boots, his weapon, and then just do some high contrast on some of these details, and then finish up the oil bottle and his cigarette pack, and he'll be done, and then base him. So I'm going to let him dry real good, and then I'm going to come back, and then maybe I'll do a Sunday stream, and we can finish him up. And I just kicked the camera. I'm so sorry, guys. Didn't mean it. But I want to wish you guys a great weekend if you don't join us. We will see you soon. Thank you for spending your Friday night with us. I hope you guys have a great weekend full of awesome game. And I thank you for your continued support. You guys are awesome. Until the next time, guys, we will see you soon.